Before she made the world laugh, she cried alone in dressing rooms. Before she became America Funny Girl, she was just Lucille. A woman who loved deeply, lost painfully, and remembered every soul who touched her journey. Today, we are not just telling a story, we are opening the pages of her heart. Today, we are diving into the 6 actors who did not just work beside her, but lived in her heart. Before we dive into video, please subscribe our channel. Lucille Ball was born on August 6, 1911, in Jamestown, New York. Her early life was filled with sadness and hardship. When she was only 3 years old, her father, Henry Ball, died from typhoid fever. This was a big shock for such a young girl. After her father's death, Lucille and her mother had to live with her grandparents. Her mother, Desiree, worked long hours to support the family, and Lucille often felt lonely and left out. She was a quiet and shy child, but deep inside, she loved to make people laugh. Even as a young girl, she would perform funny acts in front of her family to cheer them up. At the age of 15, Lucille went to a drama school in New York City. She had big dreams, but her teachers didn't believe in her. They said she didn't have any real talent and would never become a star. Still, Lucille did not give up. She returned to her hometown, worked odd jobs, and kept trying. Later, she got a chance to model for fashion ads, which led her to small roles in movies. Lucille struggled for many years in Hollywood, acting in low-budget films and playing small parts. But she never stopped trying. Her passion for performing and her strong will helped her keep going. She knew that one day, her hard work would pay off. That little girl from Jamestown was ready to show the world who she really was. Lucille Ball. Life looked happy on the outside, but behind her smile were many personal struggles. Even after she became famous, she had to fight hard for her place in the industry. In her early career, people in Hollywood told her she was not beautiful or talented enough. She was often given small or silly roles, and it took years before anyone truly believed in her ability to lead a show. Lucille did not give up. She used rejection as fuel to work harder. One of her biggest struggles was starting a family. Lucille deeply wanted children, but she had several miscarriages, which caused her a lot of pain. She finally had 2 children, but only after many difficult years. At the same time, she faced stress in her marriage to Desi Arnaz. While they seemed like a perfect couple on screen, their real relationship was full of problems. Desi, drinking, gambling, and affairs made life painful for Lucille. But she stayed strong for her family and her show. Lucille also faced public pressure during the Red Scare in the 1950s. She was accused of being connected to the Communist Party, which could have ended her career. She had to prove her loyalty in front of the whole country. Despite all of this, Lucille remained brave. She continued to act, produce shows, and build her company. Her pain never stopped her. Instead, she used it to become stronger and to make people laugh even more. Now we talk about 6 actors Lucille Ball loved the most. Number 1. Desi Arnaz. Desi Arnaz was not just Lucille Ball's co-star, he was the man she fell deeply in love with. They met in 1940 on the set of a movie called Too Many Girls. Desi was charming, full of life, and had a strong Cuban accent. Lucille was immediately drawn to him. Just a few months later, they got married. Their love was full of passion, but also full of ups and downs. When Lucille was offered her own TV show, she insisted that Desi play her husband on screen. The network did not want a Latino actor in that role, but Lucille refused to back down. She fought hard to keep Desi by her side. Together, they created I Love Lucy, which became one of the most popular shows in American history. They did not just act together, they built Desi Productions, their own company, and made television history. But off-screen, their marriage was struggling. Desi drank heavily, partied late, and was often unfaithful. Lucille tried to hold the marriage together for years, but the pain became too much. In 1960, they divorced. Still, Lucille never stopped loving him. She once said, "Desi was the love of my life." Even years later, they stayed close. Just before Desi died in 1986, Lucille called him. They spoke on the phone and said, "I love you," one last time. That was their final goodbye. Desi Arnaz may have broken her heart, but he also owned it, and always would. Number 2. Vivian Vance. Vivian Vance was more than just Lucille Ball's co-star. She was like a sister. They met when I Love Lucy was being cast. Vivian played Ethel Mertz, Lucy's best friend and neighbor on the show. At first, the producers thought Lucille might not like her. They believed two strong women would not get along, but they were wrong. From the very beginning, Lucille and Vivian shared something rare, true connection. Off-screen, their bond grew stronger with time. Lucille once said that Vivian was the only person who could make her laugh when she was feeling down. During difficult days on set and painful nights at home, Vivian stood by Lucille's side. She listened, comforted, and protected her. When Lucille was going through her divorce with Desi Arnaz, it was Vivian who gave her strength. Their friendship was not always perfect. They had moments of tension and disagreements, especially when work became stressful. But even then, their love for each other stayed strong. They had a deep understanding that did not need many words. In later years, Vivian became sick with cancer. Lucille visited her often and never left her side. When Vivian passed away in 1979, Lucille was heartbroken. She cried for days and said that losing Vivian felt like losing a part of herself. Vivian Vance was more than Ethel. She was the only woman who truly understood the real Lucy. Their friendship was honest, deep, and unforgettable, built on laughter, loyalty, and unconditional love. Number 3. Harpo Markx. Harpo Markx was one of the few people who could leave Lucille Ball completely speechless. Known for being the silent member of the famous Marx Brothers, Harpo never spoke in his performances, but his eyes and actions said everything. Lucille admired him long before she ever met him. She once said that Harpo could say more with silence than most actors could with 1,000 words. Their most famous moment together came in an unforgettable episode of I Love Lucy. Lucille dressed exactly like Harpo, and the two performed a mirror routine that made history. It was comedy gold, but it was more than just a funny scene. Behind the laughter was a powerful connection. Lucille was amazed by how perfectly Harpo worked without ever needing to speak. His timing, his grace, and his pure joy reminded her why she fell in love with comedy in the first place. Off-screen, Lucille and Harpo shared a quiet bond. He was calm, kind, and full of warmth. At a time when Lucille was surrounded by pressure and noise, Harpo gave her peace. She felt safe around him. There was no competition, no jealousy, just respect and gentle friendship. Lucille once described their time together as magical. She said he did not just teach her about comedy. He reminded her how to feel joy. Though they only worked together a few times, Harpo left a mark on Lucille's heart that never faded. His silence, to her, was the loudest kind of love. Number 4. Dean Martin. Dean Martin was known for his smooth voice, charming smile, and easygoing style, but to Lucille Ball, he was something much more. He was comfort during chaos. They worked together several times and quickly became close friends. Lucille admired Dean for his relaxed nature. While Hollywood could be stressful and loud, Dean had a way of making everyone feel calm and safe. Around him, she could breathe. Lucille often said that Dean's humor was not forced, it just flowed naturally. He did not try to be funny, he simply was. That effortless style reminded Lucille of what comedy was really about: truth, timing, and heart. They shared many laughs backstage and built a friendship based on mutual respect and quiet support. During some of Lucille's most difficult moments, especially after her divorce, Dean was one of the few people who could lift her spirits. He never pushed her to talk or pretend. He just showed up, offered a drink, cracked a soft joke, and let her be herself. Dean also respected Lucille deeply as a woman and a performer. He once said she had more guts than half the men in Hollywood. That meant the world to her. Their bond was not dramatic or romantic. It was steady, gentle, and real. For Lucille, Dean Martin was not just a star. He was a friend who brought peace during her storm. His presence was like a warm song, soft, familiar, and always welcome. In her story, Dean Martin will always be remembered with quiet love. Number 5. Henry Fonda. Henry Fonda was a man Lucille Ball quietly admired for many years. They first met during their early Hollywood days, when both were still building their careers. Henry was known for his serious acting and deep, thoughtful eyes. Lucille, who was often seen as the funny woman, found something calming and powerful in him. While their friendship was never loud or public, it was full of silent understanding. There were whispers in Hollywood that Lucille had a quiet crush on Henry Fonda. Though nothing romantic ever happened between them, she always spoke about him with great warmth. She respected his talent, his grace, and the way he handled fame with dignity. He wasn't loud or flashy, he was real. And in a town full of actors pretending to be someone else, that meant everything to Lucille. They worked together only briefly, but their conversations off-screen stayed with her for years. Henry encouraged Lucille to trust her instincts and not let critics define her worth. That advice came at a time when she needed it most. It gave her courage to take bigger steps, including starting her own production company. Lucille once said, "Some people pass through your life like a breeze. Others stay with you like a quiet memory." For her, Henry Fonda was that quiet memory, strong, calm, and always respected. Though he was not in the spotlight of her story, he was part of the foundation. A soft presence that gave her strength, even from afar. Number 6. Gary Morton. Gary Morton came into Lucille Ball's life when she was no longer the young starlet chasing success. She was already a legend, but also a woman with deep wounds. After her painful divorce from Desi Arnaz, Lucille wasn't sure she could ever trust love again. Then she met Gary. He was a stand-up comedian, quiet, kind, and very different from the men she had known before. He did not try to impress her, he simply made her feel safe. They married in 1961, just 1 year after her divorce. Many people thought it would not last, but Lucille saw something in Gary that others could not. He made her laugh. Not the stage kind of laugh, but the soft, private, kind she thought she had lost. He stood by her side, not in front of cameras, but in real life, supporting her through every moment. Gary didn't mind being in Lucille's shadow. In fact, he was proud of her. He respected her work, her power, and her past. He never tried to replace Desi. He simply loved Lucy for who she was now. Together, they built a quiet life, away from the spotlight. Lucille once said, "Gary gave me back laughter when I had almost forgotten how it felt." That kind of love doesn't always make headlines, but it stays in the heart forever. Gary Morton was her second chance, not at fame, but at peace, joy, and gentle companionship. And that, to Lucille Ball, was the greatest gift of all. Lucille Ball made millions of people laugh, but her own story was full of love, pain, strength, and quiet courage. Behind the bright lights and loud laughter was a woman who felt deeply. She loved with all her heart, even when it hurt. The 6 actors we have talked about were not just co-stars. They were parts of her soul, each bringing something special into her life. Today, we don't just remember the icon. We remember the woman who loved deeply, laughed loudly, and left a piece of her heart with every soul who touched hers. And maybe that's why we still love Lucy.